Hey everybody, so I'm going to talk to you today about the MyViewboard software. So MyViewboard is made by ViewSonic. Works great on the board. It's also a standalone app, but there are a couple, it's a little confusing because there are a couple of different versions of the app. I'm going to show you myviewboard.com today, and there are actually two different apps on the myviewboard.com. There's a download also for your PC. There's a download for your Mac. There's an Android version. There's an iOS version that are not full apps. There is a version that runs here on the board, and there's a MyViewboard Lite that runs on the board also. They're all slightly different. They all do slightly different things. The versions that we download on our computers don't work well on our current versions of VBCPS computers. After we get some updates, maybe they'll work better, and I might change what I'm recommending. But for right now, what I am recommending is that you use the myviewboard.com software. So teaching a hybrid class, one of the questions that I get is, well, I need to be able to annotate on my presentation. And there are actually some annotation tools on the board, but we're going to talk about those. So my setup that I've got right now, I've got my laptop set up over here on the right. I've got my screen extended. So what you're looking at right now is the ViewSonic board. And this is, I'm using this as screen 2. So this is my second screen. So when I'm set up for video conferencing, what I'm doing is I'm running the video conferencing software, Zoom or Meet or Big Blue Button, Schoology Conferencing, whatever, over here on my laptop screen so I can see all of my kids on the laptop screen. And then I'm sharing screen 2, which is this ViewSonic board that you're looking at right now. So there are some annotation tools on the board itself. So this tool right here will allow me to write and annotate on the board here, but the problem is that this is an overlay in front of the board itself. My kids that are in the room are going to see this annotation, but the kids at home on the video conferencing software are not. So we need to come up with a solution for that. So the solution is the MyViewboard software. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And I'm going to sign in with Google. And once I sign in with Google, I will come up to this page. Now, there are a couple of things on this page that I want to draw your attention to. First of all, there is the MyViewboard Classroom, which is right here. This is the one we're going to talk about today. There is also a MyViewboard, just a whiteboard software right here. We are not going to use that one, and I really don't recommend that you use that one. We learned about that as ITSs last summer. I played with it quite a bit. It was kind of clunky and kludgy, and the Classroom, I think, really has replaced that. The other thing that you do want to pay attention to is this wiki right over here. The wiki has all of the instructions for the view board. If you tap on that, it opens up actually in a separate tab. This right here, the MyViewboard Classroom, here is probably the best tool to use for this, and this will give you deeper instructions than what I'm going to give you today. Because what I'm going to show you today is just really going to be a super quick introduction to this and why you might want to use this as a whiteboard or use this as an annotation tool for especially your Google Docs. All right, so I'm going to switch back here to MyViewboard, and I'm going to go into the Classroom Early Access here. And once that launches here, I do want to do one other thing. There's a shortcut key in Windows. It's F11. If I press the F11 key, what that does is it's going to make this app take full screen. If I press F11 again, it'll come out of full screen. So it hides all that stuff up at the top, the address bar and all that. So I'm going to make it full screen and hide all of that stuff. All right, so this is the MyViewboard software, the MyViewboard Classroom. Over here, I'm going to start on the left-hand side. There's a folder icon here. You can create a new file. You can open, which will open a QB file, which is the file format that the MyViewboard software uses. It will open it either from your computer or from your Google Drive, so you can do either one of those. I can also, if I've built a QB file in here, I can export as a QB, and the QB file, again, is just the file format for the whiteboard, the MyViewboard software. So you don't have to actually use the board to use this software. If you're offline, if you're at home over the weekend or in the evening, you can be building your flip charts here for the MyViewboard software. And then you can save them to your Google Drive, save them to your local computer, either one, and then open them up when you get into your classroom and start teaching from it. One cool feature here is that after you've taught your class, your workflow might be you come in, you open up the QB file, you teach your class, you annotate your presentation, and now you want to share the annotated presentation with your students. You can click this Export to PDF, save it as a PDF file, and then you can post that in your Schoology classroom. Now your kids have an annotated copy of this file. The QR code share, we're not going to discuss. That there is information in the wiki about that. All right, I'm going to go next to the Magic Toolbox here. The Magic Toolbox allows you to pull in images from anywhere on the internet. You can search for files and pull those images in, arrange those on your screen however you want. You can pull in files from your local computer. You can pull in files from your Google Drive. You can also embed YouTube videos. You can embed websites. And if you have files on like Dropbox or other cloud storage, you can access those things there as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down and I'm just going to find, I have a Google slideshow here in my Drive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this hybrid instruction. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the insert button right here in the corner, and it's going to take it a second. It depends on how big the file is. And then I'll get this processing. It'll take it just a few seconds. It'll come up here, and then I can click import. Now what this has done is this is importing my Google slideshow, and it's really just importing the images. It's kind of flattening everything. So if you had animations or anything in your slideshow, those are going to be flattened. If you have links in here, those are going to be flattened, so they're not going to work anymore either. But down here at the bottom, you'll notice I now have 21 slides in this Flipboard, and I can just flip and go through all of my slides in this slideshow. All right. So a couple other things that I can do here. I'm going to go back here, and I'm just going to jump back to my first slide that's blank. Because right here on this toolbar also, I do have two other cool things. Number one is I have this, which will allow me to put in some cool backgrounds and stuff like that. There are organizers, graphic organizers in here. There are grids in here. If you're coaching a sports team, they have all sorts of backgrounds for those, for your music, for your holidays, all sorts of stuff like that. And you can search for images. You can pull stuff in from your Google Drive, and you can pull all of those things in as a background. This next button over puts your slideshow in presentation mode. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit, but when you're in presentation mode, like websites will work in here, videos will play when you get to them and stuff like that. If you're just in the build mode, which is what we're in right now, the edit mode, that stuff isn't going to necessarily be active. And I'm going to come back to the eyeball in just a minute as well. All right, so I've got my slide in here. So now maybe I'm going through my slideshow with my students and I want to annotate something. I want to say, hey, here's from Apollo 11. So I can pull up the pins, and the pin tools here will work so that I can annotate on my slideshow, and then my students at home will actually be able to see that. So I can pick a color, and I can say, oh, here we're going to use the fan suits, and down here we're going to use this, and I can make some annotations there, and we'll talk about that. And then when I go to my next slide, we'll say, okay, we talked about that, then we're going to talk about this, and now we're going to, oh wait, well, let's go back and see this. And my annotations on my previous page are still there. So the annotations will stick. You can't natively do this in Google Slides. So remember, these came from my Google Slides. Now, some of the other tools that I have here, I do have kind of normal tools in here. The erase button, the eraser will allow me to erase any annotations that I've made. just by swiping over them, and those are gone. I do have tools in here that I can put in shapes, I can put in text and stuff like that. So one of the really cool features here of this MyViewboard classroom, there's two things up here at the top. There, you can take a picture or you can record a video. Down here in the bottom corner right here, you can actually broadcast this live, so you wouldn't have to actually use a Zoom or something like that. But up here in the top right hand corner, there's this ID, and when I tap on that ID, I get this that shows up in the middle of the screen. Now, the QR code may not be particularly useful. Your kids can scan it. It's going to open on whatever device they scanned it on. But down here there's a join code, and you can take that and copy paste that into your chat in whatever your video conferencing software is. What it's going to do when the kids click on it, it's going to have them join your view board. Now, they do have to name themselves, so that's a classroom management discussion that I expect you to have your correct name when you sign into this. Once they have joined your MyViewboard, they will show up here on this button right here, which is called the Huddle. So when I tap on the Huddle, all the students that I have listed in my class will be shown up here at the top. Down here at the bottom, I have groups, so I can set up groups in my Huddle, and then I can give students permissions to write and annotate on a slide. So it might be a graphic organizer, and I've put them in small groups in the Huddle, and then I allow the small groups to annotate a slide. As a teacher, I can see what everybody's doing down here at the bottom. I can watch as they're working on this all at one time, and then I can send them, show this to the whole class. So that is definitely a pretty cool feature of this software. All right, so that's kind of the crash course. If you want to know more about how to use the Huddle, which is, I think, one of the coolest features of this, instructions are in the wiki. The instructions are pretty good. I definitely recommend that you play with this and try this with your colleagues before you try and use this in class. The one other thing that I did want to tell you about is once you have students that have joined here, so they don't have to use the Huddle, but when you put this in play mode, this works kind of like Nearpod, that if you go through the slides, they'll see it on their screen and they'll move forward with you. So you can keep them on track and keep them on the slide that you're on. If you annotate, they will see the annotations that show up right on their screen in front of them. And if they're working on something and you want to get their attention back, the eyeball here stops all that and tells them, give me your attention, please. That's configurable up here on the gear. You can tell it what the eyes on me message is. So attention, please, and then they would pop up there. All right, so that's kind of the crash course for MyViewboard Classroom. It's available at myviewboard.com. Sign in with Google. The first time you do it, it'll take you through a sign-in thing. You have to just tell it, what city you're in and everything like that. So just make sure you register for that. Use your Google to sign in. It will ask you to authenticate to your Google Drive so that you can read and write files from your Google Drive. But that's the MyViewboard Classroom. That's what I recommend that you use for annotating in a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet or anything like that, any of your video conferencing software.